This is the Polaris Appex, and it's more of a mountain bike style electric bike, hardtail, 27.5-inch wheels here, 650B. Pretty good components as well. We've got these nice hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter Magura here with pretty solid levers. We've got the nice brake cutoff as well, so that when you pull the brakes, it shuts the motor down. It's a decent looking bike, and it keeps the weight of the battery fairly low. Kind of an interesting triangle design up here, or diamond, with the battery in the top tube. If you compare this to like some of the Easy Motion electric bikes, they put the battery in the down tube. It keeps it a little bit lower, but this isn't too bad. It's still removable. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to put your water bottle. There's no mounts or anything on this, but there are threaded eyelets here to add a rack, perhaps in the rear. Sometimes there's seat post things, or maybe a camelback would do the trick. So this bike is around $3,000, new for 2014. Polaris introduced their electric bikes around 2012 inner bike. This is 2014 inner bike. So in 2015, you should see this at Polaris dealers around the United States. And what makes it sort of unique is that the drive system is all proprietary to Polaris, or rather eVantage, which is sort of a company that they're working with. And they've really done some neat stuff designed for efficiency, which is kind of good because the battery on this is about 44 volts, 6 amp hours. In terms of size, that's not huge. 44 volts is great for power. 6 amp hours is a little low. Anyway, the battery is removable, so you can charge it on or off the bike. It makes the bike easier to move around, lighter, and also just storing the battery, keeping it clean and protected is nice. Unfortunately, you can't take the display console off, so that's going to be kind of permanently stuck, but it's just a monochrome basic display. It does the trick, and it's actually relatively easy to reach while you're riding. Anyway, getting back to the drive system, lithium-ion batteries, solid stuff. Here's the charge port right there for it if it's being charged on the bike. The motor on this is a gearless direct drive 750 watt configuration. 750 watts paired with 44 volts. That's solid. It's a pretty powerful system. I'm still kind of getting the hang of it, and you can definitely climb hills with it. But this is about 52 pounds, which is a little heavier for mountain biking. And again, just the top tube design and everything. It's a hardtail. This isn't quite as extreme as some of the other options, but it's definitely more rugged. And these tires here, 27.5, pretty solid. So it's 650 by 52B, padding there. They've even got the reflective sidewall. So I almost think of this as like a fun off-road capable around town kind of bike. Put a rack on it or ride it to work and drop off curbs. Whew, been out cruising around on this thing. I didn't realize it at first, but this is actually a speed pedelec. So one of the advantages to the Appex versus lower level mountain bikes from Polaris is that it can go up to 28 miles per hour. And again, no throttle, but if you're pedaling and you're working in one of those higher gears, it's kind of neat that you can do that. Of course, do be safe, gravel and stuff. You don't want to go flying off the edge of a cliff, but that's neat. That's a great feature for a bike like this. This nice suspension fork up here does have lockout and rebound adjustment. It's pretty solid. So TS6 from Magura right here. I do like that. It's a step up from some of their other electric bikes, and it's capable. Again, the components are solid on this thing. It just feels a little beefier. It reminds me of like some of the newer pickup trucks they're like big looking, not quite as lean, but it's fairly capable. So anyway, we have 2 levels of regen. You go down to -2, you go up. Now we've got 3 levels of assist. And depending on which level you're in, of course, the bike's going to give you more power as you pedal, and it'll use the battery more quickly as well. The unique thing about how it delivers power is that it uses a cadence sensor, which is like a little wheel right here in this circle area, and that senses when the chain is moving. With that said, I'm surprised that it's not quite as responsive as some of the other systems I've ridden. Of course, torque sensing seems to be the most responsive because you're either pushing or you're not. Something like this, you don't have to push very hard to activate the motor, but it keeps going. Like I pedal for a bit and I stop, and I'll do this in the ride test, and you'll notice that the motor it just like, it just takes a minute, right? And for off-road applications, that's not ideal, because if you're at the edge of a cliff and you stop pedaling and the motor keeps going, you could have a bad day. Anyway, there's also a really neat system in here that senses which gear you're in, because the cable from those trigger shifters runs right through here, and there's like a slide, and it senses like, oh, they're in a low gear, give them more power but don't go as fast, or oh, they're in a high gear, let's go faster, that kind of thing. And a lot of electric bikes, the way they do it is for pedal assist, they just give you less power or more power, but they're always striving to get you up to like 20 miles per hour. This one, at the lower speeds, it doesn't try to force you to go faster, which is nice. That's actually something I'd like to see on other bikes. And again, this is an innovative system, trying things that other companies aren't, and maybe they don't have it quite perfect yet, but this is definitely more solid than the 2012 bikes. And again, around 3,000 bucks is what we're looking at here. So alternatively, at any point in time with some of their other bikes, you've got a throttle. On this one, there's no throttle, it's just pedal assist, and that might speak to the whole mountain biking component, where it's meant to be an active ride. And I just noticed there's like an LED here telling you how charged up the battery is, so very cool. I also like that they've got these nice lockers on the grips, semi-ergonomic, and again, this is the kind of thing where it's like, you know, semi-ergo grips on a mountain bike. I really think this is sort of a trail bike around town, kind of for fun, but having a little bit more travel and, you know, feeling kind of cool. You are going to get more grips or traction because your contact patch is a little bit greater with 27.5 inch. Most older bikes are like 26-inch wheels, and then of course there's 29ers, which are really big, and sometimes you can get toe clipping, you hit your toes. I like the Wellgo pedals on this one are pretty cool. They're got these like little threaded screws right here that you can adjust out or in depending on how much traction you need. And if you do get wet and rainy, this is going to be a lot less slippery than a plastic pedal, and just give you, a lot more power transfer because of stiffness. There's the kickstand and everything. And again, there's the name Apex on this little cable wrapper. So very cool. Let's hop on and you can see the motor in action. So I'm in assist level 3. Again, I've got my odometer, battery level, time, and speed. I'm just gonna start pedaling and we'll listen for it. I'm also in a high gear right now for speeds. See how long it takes for the motor to cut out? That's what I mean. It's not super responsive that way. Still a road shot. Whew. Getting some decent stopping power there with the hydraulic brakes. Yeah, so that's the updated Polaris, right, for 2015, and we're looking at the Apex. It's sort of a mountain bike model. Definitely some great improvements here, and I love to see it's still purpose-built frame with the cables running through the frame and everything. I feel like it could be maybe a little bit more refined, but they're going in the right direction, and I love that they're offering something kind of unique. The motor is solid, and while this is adding more weight to the rear with a hub motor like that, having that mid battery does help to balance things out. So this is a solid choice. Again, you'll be able to get this at your Polaris dealer if you're interested. For more info on this and other electric bikes, see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.